Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings for Thursday, September the 5th. In this video, I'm going to cover the 4-game early slate. I will have a video later tonight going over the main slate. I believe there's 7 games tonight on Thursday night. I'll be covering that in a video after this one, but for now we're going to look at this 4-game early. Start off with pitching, work our way through the pitcher-player pool. I'll be sure to hit on all the pitchers that I like for today. Then we'll talk about 3 specific hitters I really like, and towards the end of the video, we will go over some stacks that I'll be going to. I do want to let you guys know that I made both of my NFL videos for week 1. Have one video up for DraftKings, have one video up for Yahoo. So if you want to check either of those videos out, I would really appreciate it. If you're planning to play NFL DFS on either DraftKings or Yahoo on Sunday, both of my videos went up yesterday. Also, if you haven't seen my video for the Showdown slate, for the Thursday night football game, which will be Thursday night tonight, probably when you're watching this video, make sure you check that video out as well. A ton of videos on my channel these last few days. I just want to keep you guys informed in case maybe you didn't get to see any of them. But we'll start off with pitching. Go ahead and look at the top here. Matt Boyd is our most expensive pitcher on this early slate. He is $10,500 in a matchup against the Royals. The other expensive pitcher you have on the slate is Sonny Gray at home for $10K against the Phillies. I really don't have a ton of interest in either guy. I think you can get a lot of upside for cheaper with a guy like Zach Plesac against the White Sox. There's a really cheap pitcher I like. I think Glenn Spartman for $4,800 against the Tigers is playable. He's just so cheap. He's facing the Tigers. Glenn Spartman's a terrible pitcher, but anytime you get a guy that cheap in a good matchup, he is at least in consideration for me. If you want to go like Boyd Spartman, you could totally do that, but if you go like Plesac Spartman, that's going to leave you a ton of salary to pay up for bats. You'll pretty much be able to get whatever stack you want. So I think that's the way I'm going to be going on this early slate in a lot of my lineups. I like Zach Plesac a lot as my SP1 here. At home against the White Sox, very favorable matchup. A White Sox team that does strike out a lot versus right-handed pitching. Plesac's a very heavy favorite at minus 199. Plus, he's already done well in this matchup before. He went 7 innings, only allowed 4 hits, 1 run, got 7 strikeouts. Had 24 DraftKings points the last time he faced the White Sox. Could easily see a similar performance to that. I think Plesac at 8,100 is a really good overall play on this slate. Wouldn't be surprised if he outscores Boyd or Gray, and he's $2,000 cheaper. So I like Zach Plesac a ton here. Then for SP2, I think Glenn Spartman is playable here. He's not usually a guy I play, but at home against the Tigers really doesn't get much better than this. It's a good pitcher's park. The Royals ballpark does favor the pitchers. Not great pitching weather. It is going to be pretty humid, 82 degrees. Looks like winds are going to be blowing out to left. We do see 4.7 total for the Royals, 4.9 for the Tigers. So this game is getting some appeal from Vegas in terms of for batters. Like, does have pretty high totals on both sides. But I do like Spartman here, just given the fact that he's 4,800. It's such a bad Tigers lineup, just not a good lineup. There's plenty of strikeouts as well. I think Spartman is a guy you can definitely go to as an SP2 play. He's not a good pitcher, like I said. You look at his game log, it's really ugly. He has one good game where he went a complete game with 14 strikeouts against the White Sox, or 8 strikeouts against the White Sox, Can't really predict that for Spartman, but wouldn't be surprised if he goes 5-6 innings, maybe gives up a couple runs, gets like 5-6 strikeouts, gets you 15, 20 DraftKings points. At 4,800, that's probably going to be good enough on this early slate. So I like going Plesac Spartman. That still leaves you over 4,600 remaining per player, so you can pretty much get in like any bats that you want. But other than the guys we've talked about, I really don't have much interest in like Jason Vargas. I don't really want to play here against the Reds. Ronaldo Lopez, I don't want to go to against the Indians. Logan Webb against the Cardinals, maybe you could consider, but I think I'd just rather pay all the way down to Plesac. Dakota Hudson feels a bit overpriced, even though it's a decent spot against the Giants. If I'm going to pay $8,900 for a pitcher, I'm either going to go $800 less and get Plesac or just get up to Gray or Boyd. Boyd's a guy that I do have a lot of respect for. I think he is a really talented pitcher. He has been struggling a bit lately, though. He's been giving up a lot of home runs. Just in his last 4 starts, he's given up 10 home runs in his last 4 starts. Gave up 4 homers to Minnesota. Faced them again, gave up 2 homers. Faced Seattle and gave up 4 homers. He is still getting a lot of strikeouts, though. He's still a pretty good strikeout pitcher. He's probably gonna have a line where he goes like 6 innings, probably allows like 4 runs, gives up maybe 1 or 2 home runs, and gets like 8 strikeouts, gets like 20 DraftKings points. I think that's probably That's probably a reasonable projection for Matthew Boyd here. And you can just get similar production for cheaper. So that's why I don't have a ton of interest in him. And then Gray, it's just a tough spot against a really good Phillies lineup. Don't think I need to pay $10K for him on this slate. So let's talk about some bats now since we got a lot of salary to pay up. I'm going to be looking to pay up at third base to start off with. Assuming Eugenio Suarez is in the lineup, I like him a lot here against Jason Vargas. Jason Vargas, pretty much time in and time out as a pitcher I look to stack against. And it's a great spot for the Reds here, getting to face him at home in Great American Ballpark, a great hitter's park. The Reds do have a lot of righties that have power. If Senzel is in the lineup, he does have some power, has some speed as well. Eugenio Suarez has a ton of power versus lefties. Aquino has a ton of power against lefties. Phillip Ervin has a little bit of pop. Iglesias, Casali, Blandino don't have much power, but they're not terrible hitters either. 5.1 total for the Reds, which is second highest on the slate behind the Indians. I do like a red stack a lot here, and assuming Eugenio Suarez is in the lineup, he's one of my favorite plays at third base for 5,300. Same for Aquino. Love paying up for Aquino on the slate. Just a ton of power versus left-handed pitching. This dude's been mashing this year. Short sample in the majors, but 15 home runs in the limited amount of time that he's played. 310 average, a ton of pop, great hitter's park. Facing a lefty and Vargas who will give up home runs to righties. I like going to Aquino as well, and I'm definitely going to be on the Reds as one of my top stacks on the early slate. And then another team that I will definitely be going to is the Indians. I think the Indians give you a lot of upside here against Ronaldo Lopez. I did stack against Ronaldo Lopez a lot in his last start, stacked against him when he faced the Braves, and he got crushed. He didn't even make it through the first inning, gave up 6 hits and 6 runs through 2/3 of an inning, negative 14 DraftKings points. Not saying that's going to happen here, but Lopez does struggle with lefties. There's a lot of good lefties in this Indians lineup. Francisco Lindor I like a lot. Obviously, he's one of my favorite shortstop options. I think he's one of the top plays on the slate overall. Carlos Santana is a really good left-handed bat. Jason Kipnis is a really good left-handed bat. Tyler Naquin's not a bad hitter. He has a little bit of power. The righties are tough outs too. Mercado is a pretty decent hitter. Yasiel Puig has a ton of power. Franmil Reyes has a ton of power. Roberto Perez has shown power this year. So it's a really tough spot for Ronaldo Lopez. I do like the Indians as well to go along with my red stacks. And Francisco Lindor, I've got the salary to pay up for him since I went cheap at pitching with Glenn Spartman. Francisco Lindor, one of my top shortstop options, just one of the best hitters in the league. Has a lot of power, has speed as well. Love him here against Ronaldo Lopez. So these are my 5 plays for the early slate. Do like to go cheap at pitching on the slate. This feels like an early slate where I'm going to be spending down at pitching and then really paying up for expensive bats. I do play multiple lineups, so I'm sure I'll have some lineups where I go like pay up for one of the pitchers, whether it's Boyd or Gray, go cheap with Plesac, or go cheap with Spartman, and then still get in some decent bats. Like if you go Boyd, Spartman, I think you're still left with like 4,100 remaining per player, which easily can be worked around, especially because both of these teams, the Indians and the Reds, do give you some value. Like you got Votto for cheap, even though it's lefty-lefty. Phillip Ervin, I think, is a really good value outfielder. Jose Iglesias is a very cheap shortstop. Kirk Casali is a pretty cheap catcher play. And then on the Indian side, Mercado's 4,200, which is cheap. Puig's 4,300. Kipnis is 4,300. Both of those guys are pretty cheap. You got Roberto Perez at only 3,900. Tyler Naquin, even though he's batting towards the bottom of the lineup, it's a very cheap option at 3,100. So you can definitely make an Indian stack and a red stack work with like Boyd. It's just hard to get those really expensive bats. Like it's going to be hard to get Suarez, Lindor, Aquino in there if you pay up for either Boyd or Gray. So that's kind of why I went down to Plesac. But let's talk about some stacks now before we end the video. So my 2 favorite stacks, number 1, the Reds, number 2, the Indians. Reds and Indians are going to be the 2 teams I go pretty heavy on here on this early slate. If you want to go to like some Royals bats, I could see it versus Matt Boyd because he has been giving up a lot of home runs lately. You want to target guys with power against Boyd, so Merrifield, Mondesi, Soler, and Dozier I think are all playable as a contrarian stack. Look, I don't think it's the worst idea either to stack against Spartman. If you're playing a lot of lineups, I think you can play Spartman, but you probably want to have some Detroit stacks going against him because he does have the tendency to get blown up. The Detroit team is also very cheap. You could probably pay up for Gray and Matt Boyd and get a Detroit stack in there. I don't know if that's going to be the best way to go, but if you want to get a little contrarian, I imagine Spartman's going to be pretty popular because he's so cheap and he's facing the Tigers. I could see doing a Detroit stack. And then this Cardinals-Giants game, I don't really have much interest on either side. I guess you could go to a Cardinal stack because it's a 4-game slate and we just have limited options, but they're going to be behind the Reds for me. They're going to be behind the Indians. Probably would even put them behind the Royals. So really stacking-wise, I'm going to be all over the Reds and all over the Indians on this early slate. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for stacks, and I think that is it for this video. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. Hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed, make sure you drop a like down below before we get out of here. I would really appreciate it. If you are new to the channel, if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you click that subscribe button down below. If you have any questions, you can always hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT, or you can leave any questions, any comments down below in the comment section. I'll be sure to reply to you as soon as I can. But good luck today, guys. I do appreciate you watching the video, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.